You've spent years imagining the quiet. The plans were made. The food truck in Florida, the downsized business, the freedom to finally breathe. But then a single phone call on December 5th changed everything. Today I'm talking with Ruthie Shofi, a 60-year-old grandmother who went from hosting a Christmas party to raising 3 granddaughters, ages 2, 4, and 13, overnight. We're driving into the messy middle of kinship care. The morning tears, the systematic hurdles of birth control without consent, and the agonizing question we all ask, how did this happen? If you've ever felt like you weren't strong enough for this mission, Ruthie's story of moving from shock to glory is the boardroom briefing your soul needs today. Welcome to Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, Nurturing Through Adversity. In this podcast, we will delve deep into the challenges and triumphs of grandparents raising grandchildren. As we navigate the complexities of legal, financial, and emotional support, I invite you to join us on a journey of exploring thoughts, feelings, and beliefs surrounding this growing segment of our society. Drawing from real stories and expert advice, we will explore the nuances of child rearing for children who have experienced trauma and offer valuable resources to guide you through the intricate journey of kinship care. We'll discuss how we can change the course of history by rewriting our grandchildren's future, all within a supportive community that understands the unique joys and struggles. This podcast was made especially for you. Welcome to a community where your voice is heard, your experiences are valued, and your journey is honored. This week is Valentine's Week. Typically, this is when we focus on romance and those golden year dreams of quiet dinners and sunset walks. But for many of us in the 2.7 million, our Valentine looks like a toddler in a diaper or a teenager needing trauma therapy. I connected so deeply with Ruthie's story because, like her, I had to make the agonizing choice to leave parts of my family behind to save the ones who couldn't save themselves. We're all asking the same question: where were we in this story? How do we find the love we have for our partners and ourselves when our nest is suddenly overflowing with a second childhood? Ruthie Shofi isn't just a grandmother. She's a warrior who owned a business for 18 years and is now applying the same CEO mindset to a household of 3 girls with very different developmental needs. From navigating the mastermind manipulation of sugar-sneaking toddlers to fighting the state over the rights of her 13-year-old. Ruthie is in the trenches. She's here to help us bridge the gap between the life we planned and the legacy we are currently building. Ruthie, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It takes a lot of bravery to share our stories, and I know we're going to be talking about some issues that are sensitive and difficult to talk about. We have emotions and feelings about the parents of the kids that we're raising. We have problems with the kids themselves. We don't do this job perfectly. Why don't you share with the other grandparents out there your story when you got the kids and how old they are?
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me and for the work that you're doing. I've never been more passionate about something in my life. Mm-hmm. I am a 60-year-old grandma. I am raising my 3 granddaughters that I got on December 5th of 2022. They were 2, 4, and 13 at the time. We're in the beginning of our 4th year, and they're thriving, and I'm thriving. I'm in it for the long haul. Yeah. My backstory is that I grew up in a family with a musician father and an alcoholic father, grandfathers. As far as what was exposed to me and my children. I as well grew up, I guess, being called a party mom, but never thinking I was an out of control party mom, but being irresponsible to what I maybe should have been exposing my children to at that time. So I had my first child, Shannon, at 19. I'm raising her children today. Later in life, I had 2 other children, and thank you, God, they're thriving and they're missing me because of the time I've had to sacrifice for their sister over and over. The story of raising grandchildren. The oldest one is now going to be 17 this coming summer. And she's been in and out of my life since she was born. We've had her on and off. The other 2, I did not. The 7-year-old now lived with us when she was being born. But then my daughter moved back in with her ex-boyfriend and they had the 3rd baby. So I was never really close to them because that's when they started to make a bigger mess of their situation. And I was aware, but not to the degree of it because they protected it so well. On December 5th of 22, I was given my grandchildren to go to a play. And that night, my oldest grandchild told me the way they had been living. And I contacted social services, and they've been with me ever since. At that time, I was semi-retired from being a hairdresser. I owned a business for 18 years. And due to my health and some things changing, I had downsized. So my husband and myself at that time were making plans to go to Florida and start a food truck. You know, we were revamping our winters, at least. We live in the north where it's cold. And we were doing things, and I became a market partner to a brand that I still work with and had literally just went to their seminar in September of 22, had made all these huge plans, had my Christmas party with the people that work with me with this on December 4th, and then got the grandkids on December 5th. In this time, I am now coming out of my true depression. You don't have time to be depressed. You just know that your life is so different. It moves at such a fast pace. You're involved in the beginning because you wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
And then after a few months, you start to realize this is really reality. Nobody's coming back to pick up these kids. And my husband is amazing. He is my backbone and theirs all day. But to change your life to such a degree, every day I would literally wake up crying. And that is no exaggeration. Some mornings just hollering, saying words I didn't mean. I am a faithful person on both sides. Was raised with a father who has the world of faith and then a Catholic mom who has a world of God. And asking him, why did you hate me so much? How did this happen? They say you give people what they can handle. I most certainly cannot handle this. All 3 had different issues, pretty severe, from my daughter and her boyfriend's lifestyle. My 13-year-old hadn't been in school since the 2nd week of September, and I got them in December, and she was in 8th grade. She had become my daughter's best friend and like a little mom to her little sisters. There's, again, the different stories we all have, and mine, I think, as well as many, are so ugly and deep, and they run 20 years long with my daughter's abuse. But this is about having the grandchildren, and that is where my focus and my heart is. I was someone who brought people to have drug seminars in our community to try to stop that, the heroin addiction, and have just watched my daughter repeatedly fall backwards. So I've had to mourn someone who is on the earth who is not involved and take care of these children. And I'm blessed that I've come full circle. And the only way I could do it better was to become involved and to say that I've learned that there is a huge foster care system, and thank you, God, there is, because it's needed. But there really is not a system in place. And while I'm blessed, I have a great tribe. There are definitely things I see my grandchildren needing that are not provided. And I'm just here to help do the work. Yeah, and see
Yeah.
if we can bring a voice to this,
Thank you.
because I don't see it changing or slowing down,
No, in fact,
unfortunately.
yeah, it's getting worse.
It is.
You mentioned about your other kids suffering. I too have my own children. I have other grandchildren. As I mentioned to you, we made a move recently to be closer to my husband's family because he has a large family to get help. It was a choice I did not want to make. It took me 2 years to make that decision because I had to leave my own children and my other grandchildren to do this. How are your other children reacting to your situation?
I'll remind them it's your nieces, and I'm here because they didn't show up and not have anyone to not want to raise them. And there's really nowhere else for them to be. As terrible as that sounds, it puts it in perspective. If I can keep things pretty cool with everything, but if I become stressed, then they become more stressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can't talk with me or share with me because they don't want to add anything to my life.
Yeah.
And I miss that. I miss those relationships with them.
Yeah.
They're trying to not blame me either. My son is in Colorado as I'm in Maryland. And then my younger daughter is up in Baltimore and I'm down on the Eastern Shore. She's my closest best friend. She's going to be 30 this year. And I try to just always make time for her and just call and send them both texts to keep them knowing how much they're in my heart. I have this little text that's just us three. And I send them out messages of love and hope and let them know I'm thinking of them. I think it's as much for me, of course.
What about forgiveness as part of this process? Forgiving their mother. Where do you think they're at on that?
I think they're there. I do. I believe it. But watching how broken they are with their sister is, as a mom, it's hard because these were your children, even though my two younger ones are from one dad and then my older daughter had another dad. They grew up semi-close to some level, and she was never, how do I want to say it? She was never a bad teenager, if you will. She truly was one of the kids in the story that she wasn't an angel, but she wasn't a druggie or running around. She was put on medicine at 20, and now she's 42, and I haven't seen her since for her back. And she took it to an extreme and went down the rabbit hole over and over. And so they have a horrible relationship with her. Even if I try to bring her back or around her children or even think about it because I think maybe I need the help or they need to see her, it's just, for one, I think that's them letting me know, Mom, why would you do that to yourself again? Because you've done this so many times to be let down, and they're older and doing so well. But that to see that break between my kids, it hurts my heart, but I understand it.
We talk with these young kids about tough things we wouldn't want in any other situation to have to discuss with young kids. What's been your experience with that? Do you filter a lot or do you share a lot?
With the grandchildren and their situations. My oldest, of course, is fully aware. When I got her, she was in 8th grade and she had straight Fs, was suicidal. Her mother and her had partied together. They had drank and smoked pot, and she had experienced some other substances with her mom. Her house was a party house. Her sisters were little, and her mom put a couple tattoos on her willingly, not like forcing her to get them. And she was 13 at the time and 12. So my daughter went to jail for this, and we went through the system where my granddaughter went against her mom because they don't let us in court and her boyfriend to say what she had been through. So she's fully aware, and there's really no hiding anything from her. I let her know every step her mom's making each week or month. The two little ones we just started behavioral therapy with. They did go to trauma therapy, as well as Riley, the older one. had been with a trauma therapist since like month one. The two little ones I still protect a lot. One will turn 8 on the 12th, and then one's going to turn 6. So they'll be 6 and 8. They're asking questions. Reagan is my 7-year-old. Reese is my 5-year-old. The little one has been with me since she was 2, and they visit with the other grandma, and that's where the little one's dad is, and they don't see him a lot. But he's the one that's still in denial that he was a great dad and that I got his kids away from him because of my daughter and my oldest granddaughter's mistakes. And I've told him over and over, I said, Chris, the state does not take kids from parents doing the job that kids need. We could totally prove that wrong. And so he still lives in a house where he rents a room with 8 other guys in the house and works here and there and wants to fight with me about why he doesn't have custody of his kids. And so it's a constant struggle.
Denial is part of mental health. And a lot of the reasons why all of us, and I'm including myself in that category, as I peel away layers of my own issues, which the kids bring me up against constantly, I find another layer and I go, wow, this is about me putting something away somewhere for my own protection or whatever reason it was, because I went through abuse as a kid. It's something that we need to talk about. For these kids, the one thing I'm learning, and I'm curious what your experience is, to address things by feelings as they come up with the kids, because the kids have a lot of feelings, a lot of very mature feelings.
Yes.
My granddaughter has many issues, but one thing she can do is talk about feelings. So I found that to be a common place where we can meet and I can tell her I'm hurt or she's hurt. How do you deal with emotions and feelings when they come up in your household about things that are tough to talk about? I recently received an email from a listener named Laurel. At 61, Laurel and her husband, who's navigating his own health challenges, are now raising their grandson after a series of unimaginable losses. In 2022, they lost their son to a fentanyl overdose. Then just a year ago, they lost their daughter the same way. The morning after, they'd stayed up late together planning her son's 3rd birthday party. Laurel told me that she lives one day at a time. She's dealing with the financial strain of using her 401k to survive, the physical toll of caregiving, and the emotional weight of what ifs. But she also said something that I want everyone listening to hear. She said that just telling her story to people who can relate is refreshing. That's exactly why we do this. Whether you're navigating addiction in your family, raising a grandchild you didn't expect to be raising, or just trying to find your footing after a loss, we need to hear your story. There's always someone else out there who needs to hear that they aren't the only one. Your experience is a lifeline for someone else. So if you have a story to share, or if you're looking for that community Laurel found, please join our Facebook group or sign up for our newsletter on our website at grandparents-raising-grandchildren.org. Let's keep relating and let's make sure no one walks this path in silence. Thank you, Laurel, for your courage to share your story with others.
Wow, that one's real hard for me because I dealt with their mom's addiction for 20 years. And with her still being in the picture, I dealt with my own emotions in front of what they needed first. And it took me probably almost this whole 3 years to be able to say that. And it makes sense to me because I couldn't stop saying, I'm here too. Please, I'm dying here, you guys. Please, what do I do with me? I was in literal shock, I think. It was a feeling I'm free of today.
That's
Blessed,
amazing.
again, I use that word so much because it's where I am. I'm happy I'm here. But yeah, I stayed that way most of the time and did not know what to do with that. One reason that I had tried a couple different therapy people, basically to say, I think my 7-year-old is on the either autism or the Tourette syndrome spectrum a little bit. And that my 5-year-old is, God bless her, again, is now, we're like best friends, but I dealt with so much of my own anger when I got them. That little baby was like watching, when I reflect, a little kid trying to just fend for themselves in full survival mode.
Yeah.
And my anger and emotions truly in the beginning were in front of it, and not to the degree every day that it knocked them down, but to the degree of me helping them figure out what they needed to grow. Because I guess I kept thinking it was going to end. It took me a long time to get to court when that was very challenging. The court system was a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was very emotional having workers in your house telling you what to do every week and what to do with the kids and how to do what you're doing. And then all of a sudden tell you, oh, we're going to go to court and we're going to give them back to the parents. And you're like, but there's nowhere to give them to. What do you mean? Just they watched me go through all that. And then once it all finally came to a head, I finally started to say more to myself. Are you in this because you're going to do better by them? Then you're doing lots better than where they were living, but like really in it for them because they're so little and they're our future and they need the right guidance. So that's when I started to apply what was needed to deal with them better.
When we first started doing this, I knew it was the right thing to do. Then I went through wondering whether I was the right person to do this for them. And I do think at times it's important for people to know when it isn't the right thing to do. My process was messy too. There are times when they saw me fall apart, say things I shouldn't have said sometimes. I had to forgive myself for that part. But I also think that it was really beautiful for the kids and has been and will continue to be, I'm sure. Even though it's difficult and messy, it's real. This is what happens. They know that I'm a real person and that I fall apart, and you pick yourself back up and you say, I'm going to try and do it better next time. And when you don't quit and you come up against a wall and you're determined to get through it, you do eventually. But I don't think this messy part ends ever. And I think part of
I'm
being
with you there.
human is part of that. And them seeing that,
Yeah.
that I don't think I saw that from my parents. And I think one of the things that's evolved over this last 4 years is, yes, I'm learning how to take care of myself and yet still be an open book to my grandkids. And that process has made me a better human being. And being
Agree.
better, don't you think? But it's not how I saw life when I started. And when I was young, as open-minded and as selfless as I thought I was, I don't think I really was. This gift and struggle and blessing of having the grandkids is transformational for us as much as it is for them.
I totally agree with you. I do. Yeah. As I say, I was closing my salon of 18 years because of some weakness in my body and my hands. And I'm fully in that place now where it's been some surgeries and things, and I don't use it the same, but the wanting to be there for them and the things that you apply different. And I could have stayed where I was angry all the time and I was doing it, still doing it, but I was always going to bed mad, waking up mad, or I could find glory in it. And I would say to the other Nana when she would come, the first year, she literally had them every weekend. And now I get her maybe a weekend a month, and it's understandable. It is. And she knows that she gets to be a grandma and I'm a mom most of the time. So I have to put myself in places where I look at what they're doing and step back and go, take it in like a grandma. And as silly as that sounds, you have to separate that. And then
Very
you're going over there and
bipolar
going,
feeling.
oh no. It is. And a new one that I have just come to this week feeling about it is, why has it been so hard? The facts are, we're raising children. They're our grandchildren. They're somebody's children, but we did not carry them. We did not birth them, but they are children. And we did not get them like we are used to, one at a time, with time to get used to them. As you were, I was given 3 children. My 2 and 4-year-old came to me in diapers and not eating and not sleeping. They would stay up till midnight watching YouTube videos and sleep till 11 in the morning. And they still have trauma issues, you know.
I too came the same way, but I only had 2.
Yeah.
That was hard enough.
But I guess I'm blessed because the oldest one I've had, like I said, on and off since her birth. She had been, there's a long story, but she had been living with my ex-husband, Shannon, my daughter's dad, and his wife in Florida since she was 5. Shannon was living with my parents in North Carolina at that time and had done my parents wrong. Her addiction relapsed, and I brought Riley on an emergency junction to live with me. I had already had her from birth to 5 on and off. And Shannon gave her to her dad in Florida out of anger to get her away from me that year. So she had been in Florida. She would come spend summers with me, but from 5 to 11. And then at 11, she came back to live with her mom. And by 13, that was the situation that them two had, was this best friend hangout. I've had to figure it out for myself with my daughter. It's tough. And to watch Riley go through it. She is now a junior in high school and takes criminal justice and psychology and is a straight A honor roll student and just wants to continue to help children, she says.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
So to have her with her sisters, I think was a blessing that I did have that third one, because she was a big help and comfort for them through the transition. I didn't lean on her. I didn't make her a sitter. I still don't. Very rarely, because she was watching them more than her mom was that last year. But she actually was just away at Christmas. She flew out to California and visited an uncle and an aunt from her mom's side and the grandfather that passed away's son. And when she got home, she could not hug them. It was like it was just beautiful to see. That's all. They 3 have such a sister bond. And it's weird because in the beginning, I kept fighting to only get the older 2 and let the little one stay with the dad because he was in a different situation then. And it was like, don't separate them. And now I'm blessed that I didn't even consider it, because they really are so used to each other through this time in their life.
It sounds like you've made some very wise decisions with the kids.
You feel like you truthfully, you think about your options. Unfortunately, you don't have any. The family, who's going to pick up little kids? And if they do, you got to worry about who that is.
But this is the system. Life is messy, and making the best choices out of the most difficult ones is a big part of what we do, unfortunately. But it's a big segment of society. So it's a problem that more people need to be doing. It takes time. You've mentioned making a change for us. You've made a change for this family of yours, this new nucleus of a family of yours. What do you think is the biggest systemic hurdle that you've faced in the last 3 years? What's the biggest of all the issues that you've had to overcome or are overcoming now?
Wow, that's tough. Yeah, it depends on where you would put me to answer that kind of question. I've ran pretty hard with my state and county with anger issues over the way my grandchildren have been handled. May I ask how old your granddaughter is, Laura?
She just turned 10.
10.
So
I will
3
share
and 6.
So again, when I first got them, my 13-year-old was a little out of control, and I was reaching for all kinds of therapy for them. And because I just didn't know what to do, and the state gave her to a therapist. I don't know if this is something that is legal in every state, but in ours, they can put your children on birth control at 13 without parental consent. And so they had done that. And so on a children's level, I can truly say with them that was probably one of my toughest issues, fighting with and I don't even know if the word's proper to say that, fighting with myself, fighting with my state. I went pretty over the top and reached out to everybody and just demanded, how could you didn't have to let me know if she was going to do it or not, but you could have let me know it was an option. I had no idea it was even something that could happen.
Yeah, the laws.
But yeah, I truthfully think my biggest acceptance was where I was and how different my life is now for myself and my husband. Missing where I went with him and where we were going, and saying if I gave him away and I left, then I would just be somewhere wondering how they're doing and sad all the time. And so that's not an option.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you could just go away with a conscience on you about it. But, it really took me a long time. So we just recently had to get back grounded to where were we in this story. And I think that's truly helping us. But but most of my frustrations is truly just came from dealing with my state and the help that they still give the parents, but they don't want to give the grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's been really hard to take on. But I'm reaching out to community to find more and more, because again, the more I'm involved, I find it easier to be a part of something. So reaching out, because I know there are a lot of grandparents in my area that are without resources, and just I don't know if I can do anything for one, but if I can, to just continue to bring us together. And you want to educate as well, learning that what I do with these little children. I think I heard you say how you're forever wondering, what did I do wrong? What should I have done different? I'm truly analyzing that and looking at them, the two little ones. Their desire, as simple as it says, for sugar is ridiculous. And some days it's okay. But every day, and the way they want to come up and get sneaky and slide along the counter and ask you again, and it's as if they've already mastered the manipulation and the connive. And I'm like, wow, I think this really started back with your mom then, and I maybe should have paid attention to it a little better, because they're masterminds with this. And so just trying to be mindful there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the 9-year-old is always doing that. Yeah. Oh gosh, I can so relate. Yeah, it's really easy to slip into the mindset of that manipulating mind. They do certain things and you go, oh, they got that from their mom, or they got that from their dad. And remembering that they're just children sometimes, but it's so great to hear somebody else's story, because I go, oh yes, I have another friend, I have another mother that's going through that too. Because it's crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy stuff.
Yes.
It's crazy stuff to have to think about. And it helps so much to hear another story. That's why we need to share our stories. Why don't you share with us how you and Brian, you did tell me that you're just getting back in touch with where were we in this story. How do you protect your partnership while you're managing these 3 children that are all in different developmental stages?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Again, I couldn't do it without him, but I think soon find out, as crazy as it sounds. We've been given an opportunity for him to go down and try something we've been wanting to do in Florida for a little while. So I think by trying to put our dream back on the map and doing it slowly and realistically as we can, and not ignore it, is giving us both. If you can hear This interview is about something I'm so seriously passionate about. I might sound a little bit of a pep in my step because of my energy with him. We are literally just working on this right now. So just trying to, what was funny too is if
You're
you ever
dreaming
had what
and
we call, yes, I am. And I posted today that if your dreams again aren't big enough, they don't scare you, they're not big enough.
oh,
So I'm in.
good.
But the date night, going out with your husband or having a date night, we made it when the kids would go to school. We started taking off once in a while, like a half an hour later, and going to our favorite diner and having breakfast and sitting there and having coffee and talking forever. And in a place that we're friendly with people, so they wouldn't ask us to leave, and they know, and they would be like, "Oh, just sit and have your coffee." And
Oh,
we're like, "This is our
that's
date
awesome.
breakfast." And
That's awesome.
sometimes it would be a date lunch, but so yeah, and then just try to, again, I think he keeps me grounded more. I think I throw it away more and he brings me back around. But right now we're just trying to reach back out towards one of our goals, and I think it's adding some life back to us. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
One thing that we did do that is similar to that is that we both love being near water. We moved from one part of Montana on a river to another place where there was a river. Right now we're an hour from half the family and half an hour from the rest of the family. But this show is being released the week of Valentine's Day. I think what you're talking about is really important. Find a piece of the dream that you had. Where were we in this story? Get back to that for Valentine's Day, just a piece of it, whether it's to talk about it or make a little plan that's similar to it or start dreaming about it. I always say dreaming
Yes.
is free.
I love it. Yes. For 3 years now, we again live in Maryland, but we had purchased a little property on the East Coast in Florida, in Vero Beach area,
Yeah.
like right down from Melbourne and all that. Little. Our house here is little, but that house is little.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to get down there. My husband does the work and he can work on it. We have gone on vacation 3 times. My neighbor moved to that neighborhood. And so we literally sleep on air mattresses in her 1-bedroom little apartment floor. And we just got back from 16 days down there and we rent a minivan and here we go, guys. And this is what we're doing. And
I love it.
everybody has what they need. And we bring extra books and they love it. They've said they miss it because now it's so cold back here. And, but it may be a little non-traditional for the holiday, but
no such
life
thing.
is non-traditional. Santa shows up everywhere and they know that. And as you're saying, we had to be able to do what we needed to as well. And it was like, we got to incorporate them because we can't leave them home and nobody here can have them right now. So let's just go. This is our 3rd trip. Yeah. Taking them down there on this long ride that, boy, do I remember going to my grandma's in North Carolina and saying how much longer. And my 7-year-old will ask that 10,000 times, but we just make the best of it. And it is a good trip. It's a great time. Great memories.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
What would you say to the grandparent who's currently in year 1 and feels like they'll never reach year 3?
Grandparent warriors doing this work now. I black out my mind to what I want to tell them that I know they would love to hear. And I think it was just yesterday that I told someone, this person asked, how would you give a child back? They've had them about a year. It's an aunt. It's not a grandparent. It's an aunt. It's her sister's grandchild or something. Yeah. And I just said to remind yourself that this child did not ask to be born in a messy situation, to know that it does change, to reach for resources, to try to create a tribe if you can find any help. And I know how difficult that is, even in little segments, to just get somebody a couple days a week, little breaks, but to just try to keep yourself grounded for their sake. Because again, they didn't ask to be there either. And I think a lot of our anger to not want to do the work, and of course it's that we're tired and we're older and we don't know how, but the mindset of what we're doing is it keeps it a little bit harder. Yeah, I just tell them that I understand and that you really just kind of try not to negotiate with yourself, because if you do, your mind will win every time. So if you can tell yourself, this is what I'm doing right now, and make the best of it. And then, like you're telling me, or we're sharing, to try to find some time for yourself so that you can get the energy to get back up.
Yeah.
And I've as well told people that it's okay if you can't, and don't beat yourself up.
Amen.
That we are here for what's best for everyone, of course the kids, but for everyone. I've said, reach out and let's look for resources for your help. Don't be sad if you can't.
Yes, there are lots of options. Yeah. I just encourage people to never think of it as a dead end. If you're not sure what to do, there's always a way through, and that's why we should reach out. And I do recommend people to do that. Ruthie, thanks. Thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy life. I really love connecting with you, and I hope more moms will do the same. More grandparents will do the same, because these stories do make a difference. I guarantee you there'll be somebody out there that will write in. It happens all the time. Thanks for your story. It's a story I needed to hear. There are so many of us going through the same thing, and it connects us all in a spiritual way.
I'm thankful to be here. I hope to continue to be a part of a change. Again, my little girls are blessed with what they have and we can do for them. But I have 2 little girls right now that want to start gymnastics. That's so expensive. And we just don't get the help. And my other real quick point would be, if I could make a change, it would be when you are dealing with children that are drug addicts, it's hard to bring any type of unification when HIPAA is in there and you can't speak to the other side. So I find it to need to be full circle for the kids' sake, and to get the truth out earlier would be important. But I'm thankful that you could have me, and I look forward to listening to much more of your podcasts. And I thank you so much for what you do for the community.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ruthie. Ruthie described to us the first few months as a blur of not having time to be depressed, followed by the crushing realization that nobody's coming back to pick up these kids. Why keeping the 2, 4, and 13-year-old together despite the difficulty created a sister bond that became their strongest internal support system. And why protecting the partnership by reclaiming small, non-traditional pockets of time, like breakfast after school drop-off, to reconnect on the dream that was sidelined is so important. Step into the reflection room with me. It's Valentine's week, and Ruthie asked a question that stopped me in my tracks. Where were we in this story? As the invisible CEO, it's so easy to let the rescue mission swallow the marriage. We get so busy being parents that we forget to be partners or even individuals with our own dreams. Your challenge this week, Valentine's week, is to find a piece of the dream you had before the phone rang. Maybe it's a trip you planned, a hobby you loved, or just a specific diner you enjoyed. Don't ignore it. Even if you have to bring the kids along in a minivan with air mattresses like Ruthie did, find a way to incorporate the old you into the new mission. I've always said dreaming is free. Don't let the mission bankrupt your imagination. Family, next week is a landmark moment for us, episode 100. When I started this project, I was a grandmother with a journal and a heavy heart, just trying to survive the rescue mission. Today, we're movement 2.7 million strong. We're number 1 on Apple and Spotify for grandparents raising grandchildren. It's been 4 years for me, and I've learned so much. We've moved from the second cradle to the boardroom, but as we scale, we hit a wall. The invisible overhead. Most of us are trying to manage a mid-sized organization, juggling the IEPs, therapy schedules, and legal mazes, on a retirement bandwidth. To help us solve this, I've brought in a chief operating officer. Pat Henkin is a business professional, finance expert, and author of The Field Guide for Single Parents. She manages a community of 470,000 members with a no-fluff, systems-based approach. Pat will be here to help us move from survival mode to systems thinking so we can stop fighting fires and start leading our families. It's our centennial celebration, so I hope you won't miss it. We are 2.7 million strong, still nurturing, still sacrificing, and still here. Remember, life is non-traditional, but your presence is the anchor. I'm Laura Brazan, and I'll see you in the next boardroom.